points. Okay, then welcome to the working group meeting, November 25th. Usual agenda, check action items from last time. There was only one to list CVEs. I've done that. And yeah, we continue here. I'll come back to this point later. Then working group changes pull request. Let's have a short look. Inactive users to be removed. That's a typical cleanup job that happens every month. There are 4 users that have a role, reviewer or something. It's 1 more week time. So yeah, I would wait for 1 more week and then Greg, I ask you to approve and we merge it and then go on. Add UI usage policy. Yeah, I guess there was not that much feedback. So yeah.
It got a thumbs up emoji, so
Yeah, so I think we can all also more or less decide to simply agree on it and merge it and change it later. I have no real complaints about that. So we have no 1 more +1. Yep, I guess we can merge it any point in time. And there is from the Stratos project a few more reviewers. That's all okay and approved. Unfortunately, the PR has a conflict and it comes from a fork. So somebody from 520 needs to rebase and then it can be merged. Would be
Okay,
easy.
I'll try to get that corrected.
Yep. Okay. That's changes in the working group. And then just a few updates. Service credential binding rotation. In the API, everything is done. Clear implementation. With some good luck, we may start in December. Otherwise, next year. So yeah, we'll continue. Storage CLI, that's where I personally put priority on. Azure is working well in BubbleEnv, in KPCI. The storage CLI consolidation progressed. So we have now the integration tests running for GCP and AWS. For Azure and Ali Cloud, we still miss access to the foundational infrastructure working group YAS accounts. That is a bit difficult, especially for Azure. I'm finally at Chris Clark, who has to grant me. Nobody else seems to be able to do that. That's Microsoft madness. At Ali Cloud, I think there is no account yet. The Ali Cloud integration tests actually work, but we have simply used one SAP Ali Cloud account that was at hand. That's not the ideal situation. Everybody remembers from problems when we use company internal infrastructure. So yeah, hopefully we get one YAS account here as well. We are currently working on consolidating the binary into 1 instead of 4 or 5. And when that is done, yep, we can continue with the implementation for the remaining YAS accounts. And in parallel, we will test by slowly rolling the Azure implementation out to our first internal accounts and later to productive accounts. But that may take a little bit of time to observe feedback. We talked about the AI usage policy already. Then there was within SAP a request to remove the experimental from file-based service binding information. That is there since March 25 as an experimental feature. There is no strict policy how long something remains an experimental feature or not. I would suggest to have it, let's say, a year, and then the proposal would be in March 26. We remove it simply if there are no complaints. So far, it was used at least in SAP foundations, and there was no feedback that concerned now the API things, etc. Would be my proposal. I don't know if there are different opinions on it.
That sounds fine to me. I'm also fine doing it earlier if we feel like we're not going to make any breaking changes to it going forward.
Yep. I will propose this timeline to those users and see their reaction. I mean, if we establish now something faster, then the next time for the next feature it will come as well, right? And a certain time makes sense to wait for such new features. Okay. Then discuss review of Open API spec. That's, I guess, Florian's point.
Yeah, I saw Sam actually doing stuff this week on the PC. I was wondering what the current efforts from Broadcom are, and if we should all have a look on it, or try it out to see if we can get this a bit further, or not. I mean, the RFC in the project describes that we do the POC now, so it roughly works, and then we look over it and decide if we go forward or not. So that hasn't happened yet. I was wondering if we could do this in the next month or something. Just looking at it and finding out if it makes sense to invest more or not.
That means the proposal is to move the documentation even with gaps or incorrect things into the copy project and then maintain it, let's say, for a while in parallel with every
No, not
change.
necessarily. No, the thing is to review what we have currently. I mean, we don't even know the gaps because I looked at it like for a few hours and generated a few clients from it, but like that's not very extensive. So I think I won't find everything, or get a feeling for many things. So it might make sense that we all have a look over that, and then maybe we find also a deal break or something. I don't know. But I think if just I or Sam look over that, it's a bit narrow. Like we wrote it, so we made substantial parts of it. So it's I don't know how I feel about that, but
I mean, I think it's unrealistic to review the whole Open API spec. That won't happen simply. What could be done maybe is to take one endpoint, one, and review it and compare it with the existing documentation, something like that, and then we have different opinions on whether it's realistic to go on or not.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, it's just lying around as an experiment somewhere. So in the end, you have to say that you want to have it in the main project.
Yeah. I mean, I'd definitely follow up with Sam. I'm not super up to date on what the current state of this is, but my understanding is that, at least from the Broadcom side, we are interested in continuing to invest in this and use it internally for some of our own stuff. So, again, like, I haven't been working super closely on this, so I don't have all the details there, but my impression is that we want to go forward with it and continue to improve it over time.
Cool. Yeah. I guess also if we start using it, also not like that we change the documentation now, but at least start using it in a client somewhere, I don't know, that does cuts test, or I have no idea. Yeah, then we might get a feeling over a different thing by actually using it somehow, like eat your own dog food, like that. Because I think we will find stuff that is not good. Like I cannot imagine that will work out of the box like that. That would be like a fortune. Yeah, and yeah. So at least I would like to somehow that we in the working group use it somewhere, that we ourselves get a feeling for it, even though it is experimental, before we then replace the documentation. So we find the most problematic things ourselves, hopefully. Yeah. Yeah.
Just thinking currently there's no big activity on our side where we would add or extend or change APIs. But if we do it, then that would be the right point.
Yeah. I could maybe ask Sam that we invest some time in making something like cuts with a generated library. So we like do some basic cuts test, like not as extensive as cuts, but like at least push an application and request every endpoint in some way or something, and then we generate like a client for that language, like maybe Go or something, and then we let that run for a while. At least then we use it somehow. Yeah.
Maybe a separate cuts test in the beginning. Not that we block release.
So yeah, for sure. Like some like not
Somehow
integrated with the cuts, but like just running in the same pipeline so that we don't duplicate like the landscapes we test on.
That's easily possible. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could care a bit in the next weeks to write a client lib or like generate a bit client libs or something, and then we can see how we integrate that somehow. Yeah, I'm also particularly interested in what happens if we introduce a change. So like that's also a thing I'm not 100% sure how it works. So if you change, if you extend the data structure in the API, like you return additional field, how is the generated client behaving? Like it must also somehow change its data structure. So there must be a new field in the struct in Go, for example. But yeah, then does this just somehow, I cannot imagine how this will happen without like a developer activity. So just by plainly updating the YAML that it updates the client lib, I want to see that first. Yeah. But I mean, that can be also simulated, I guess. Yeah. All right. I think enough said. I also wanted to add another topic, but the two as a Google Docs didn't let me. It's anonymous. And that is the RCs concerning stack management and custom stacks. So Zach Robinson reached out to me, and he proposed he offered to implement the stack management one. I think it's RC 45 or 45, I guess. And I didn't hear back from him, so I hoped to see him here, but not the case. And just as some general plans with that. So I think I tend to implement it myself and do it as a contribution then. So let you review it. I mean, the POC is half baked, So it's somehow working already. It's just to get this polished into a state where PR could be accepted. But I think we talked through the very important things already inside the RFC itself. So, and there's also the talk at the Steve Day one can watch. But in case there are any other questions before I start making a final PR or something, or comments or something like that, we could talk about them here.
Yeah, awesome.
Guess not.
Nothing special. Yeah, if there's a PR, yeah, we could probably find the time to review it. That should be possible.
Yeah, if you're trying to get in contact with Zach and not hearing back, let me know and I can try to poke him. We're in the same office, so unlike most of the people, I can actually go and physically bother him if he's not responding.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to do so. It's also on me, like it's hard to keep track of Slack because we have different Slacks internally and in the open source Slack, and then you have to always switch between them. And if you forget to switch for 2 days or something, then suddenly find a few messages in your queue. Yeah, because you also don't get notified if somebody writes in the community Slack if you switch to the corporate Slack on. So if you change the work, what is it called? Workplace in work. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah. Just to get in contact with him so we don't implement or do that work twice. So if I now start with the stack management one, and he also has actually already done something, that would be a pity. Yeah. Cool.
Okay, then my next topic would be Klee. Now, unfortunately, there's nobody here. There has been some discussion in the past regarding version 8 and version 9 when it comes to UX changes and in the service credential binding rotation. I mean, most of the new commands are additional flags or even a new command that is probably non-critical, but there is one proposal that would change the information that is shown when you list service bindings, so that you can see the creation date and the grid. That is, yeah, to understand which of the bindings would go into your application, and also have the grid at hand when you want to delete one manually. And that would change the table content. And I wonder if there are special rules for that, or how we deal with that, or whether we ignore such old rules.
Yeah, so I am not super close to the CLI team currently, but I am aware of an older policy that is very restrictive about what types of UI changes you can make. I personally have been opposed to that policy historically and think we should just blow it up. But at the end of the day, it's in the hands of the CLI maintainers to make that decision. So we can reopen that discussion if we want to. I think that policy was made under a different set of people than are the current maintainers of the CLI. So, or I mean, there's some overlap, but there's been some rotation there as to who's actively working on it. I will say I'm personally a little bit skeptical about putting GUIDs in CLI output as a default case, just because they're not like very human readable. Like if there's an opt-in way for getting it, like CF app dash GUID and stuff like that, then I think that's fine. But displaying tabular data with GUIDs in it, I'm personally a little reticent to do. But at the end of the day, it's also not fully my decision. So
Yeah, I mean, hiding it behind some flags, etc. That's always possible, but otherwise, users would have to use CF curl in order to get rid of one dedicated binding. One can argue that's not really necessary. We can also keep that out for now, but somehow it feels incomplete, right? If you introduce such a feature and you do not have the key functionality from creation until deletion, it somehow feels strange. And there's no real other means to identify a binding if you have suddenly 5 bindings for
Yeah,
one application and one instance.
so I don't remember all the examples, but there are some other cases where we like reference things by some sort of non-GUID identifier. Like I think tasks or something have a like human readable non-GUID identifier.
Mm.
um, and stuff
I
like
mean,
that. So there are cases in the past where we've added like indices or other things like that to avoid users having to interact with GUIDs via the CLI. But I don't have that exact list in front of me right now.
yeah. I think we can also postpone this decision until we are at that point, and then we
But
can.
yeah, if there's not already, maybe open an issue for it and we
Mhm.
can have some discussion there.
Okay. Yep. And my final point is regarding thin removal. There's no, actually, there are multiple PRs open. And the one I just want to raise your attention is this one, because let's go to it. It removes the deprecated thin and Redis config parameters from copy release. So that's actually the, let's say, visible incompatible change. And yeah, we plan to merge it soon. So if you have some additional feedback, veto now. I think we discussed about it and Seth agreed that it can be removed. We would release it as a new major CF deployment release with release notes, etc. But it removes parameters, and I remember that there were some cases where you had concerns. So I just want to raise it, not to create trouble later.
Yeah, I think we're on board with this from a high level. Definitely get final sign off from Seth or Sam before pulling the plug. But if they're cool with it, I'm cool with it.
Mhm. Then I ping them explicitly and ask, yeah, 4+1, so that we can then continue. That's basically it. Any additional points you want to discuss?
I also listed the pull request for the cloud controller thin removal. So this is also a little bit bigger than usual. So if anyone wants to review, then please do so.
Oh, yeah, that's what I like.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I guess we can close the meeting. Have a nice day and a good vacation week.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
see you then next
Enjoy
time.
your German Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not so much. Not so much a tradition here.
Two ducken is ready. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Gather around the worst.
Yeah. Good. Bye-bye.
Sure.
All
See
right,
you.
bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.